As the night gently wraps the world in stillness and the noise of the day fades into silence, we open our hearts to the sacred presence of Saint Anthony of Padua. In this quiet moment, when worries try to follow us into sleep, we pause, not to fear the darkness, but to welcome the divine light that brings peace beyond understanding. Let this be a time of surrender, not of despair. You are not alone. Saint Anthony walks beside those who seek hope when all seems lost. His intercession has brought miracles where only impossibility stood. Tonight, we invite him to dwell in our hearts, to calm every storm, and to help us rest under God's wings. Let this be your holy moment of restoration, a time when heaven bends low and touches your soul. Saint Anthony of Padua, tireless friend of the broken-hearted, we come before you tonight with souls weighed down by worry and hearts longing for peace. You who have been called upon in desperate cases in times of urgent need, hear us now. You who walked in humility and holiness, but whose prayers moved heaven, bend your ear to our cries. We ask not with pride, but with complete surrender. For when human hands can do no more, we trust in divine hands to lift what we cannot. We believe in miracles, even in the darkest hour. Look upon us, Saint Anthony, with compassion that heals and restores. For those seeking a financial breakthrough, a job, a safe place to call home, we beg for your intercession. For families on the verge of falling apart, for bodies aching with illness, for spirits exhausted by grief, intercede for us. Let your prayer echo through heaven, calling down blessings that transform. Guide us to that place where hope is born again. Let no fear remain, no despair take root. Stand between us and the storm as a shield of light. To you who helps find what is lost, we ask for more than objects. Help us find our strength again. Help us find peace. Help us find God in the silence, because there is something in this prayer right now that heaven has prepared just for us. If we stay to the end, we will receive it. Let no soul turn away from this holy moment, for what comes next could be the very miracle we've been praying for, and more. The light that finds you in the darkness. There's a moment in everyone's life when they feel like they've hit a wall. The lights go out emotionally, spiritually, even financially, and it feels like no one is coming. But this is where Saint Anthony shows us his greatest strength. Not when all is well, but when everything feels lost. His miracles often begin in the shadows, when hope seems to have packed its bags. That's when his light finds you. He was known not only for his wisdom, but for helping people recover what they had lost: possessions, peace, faith, and even loved ones. That's not just a story from the past. It's a promise for today. If you've lost your way, lost your strength, or lost yourself in the chaos of life, his intercession still works. It's in these moments of silent pain that Saint Anthony draws close. He sees what others miss. He restores what you thought was gone forever. Think about it. How many people cry themselves to sleep, never knowing that someone in heaven is already praying for them? That someone like Saint Anthony has been placed as a divine responder to your cry. You may not see him, but when you invite his intercession, things start shifting, doors open, peace returns. You find the courage to try one more time. And sometimes that one more time is all it takes. Maybe it's the night when you pray one more prayer before giving up. Maybe it's the last dollar you give in faith, or the hug you offer even though your heart is broken. Saint Anthony moves through moments like these, quietly, powerfully, just like Jesus did with the broken and weary. He doesn't promise that life will suddenly become perfect, but he shows you that miracles still exist. That urgent miracle prayer whispered in the dark, it's not ignored. It's the beginning of your comeback story. There's a reason so many call it the most powerful prayer to Saint Anthony, because it brings real results to real people in real pain. Someone once said, "I didn't find the miracle, I was found by it." That's the spirit of this mystery. Let Saint Anthony find you tonight. Let his presence soften your restlessness. Let him be the friend who doesn't need an explanation, only your faith. Because when your heart cries out, heaven listens, especially when Saint Anthony is interceding. This is a time to be honest with yourself. What have you lost? What's missing? And more importantly, what are you ready to receive again? Sometimes the healing begins just by naming what's been broken. Say it out loud. Offer it to God through the prayer to Saint Anthony for family restoration, or finances, or forgiveness. It starts there. And when it does, you begin to notice little signs, an unexpected phone call, a moment of peace that makes no sense, a debt suddenly cancelled. These are not coincidences. They are heaven's fingerprints. This is what happens when you pray a Catholic prayer for miracles and truly believe it can work instantly. Not always how you expect, but always in a way you need. If you're listening to this right now, you're not here by chance. There's a divine purpose in your pain. You're being called into healing, into clarity, into breakthrough. And Saint Anthony is not only praying for you, he's walking with you. Every step toward your miracle is already blessed. You just need to keep moving forward. So tonight, instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What now?" Because what happens next may surprise you. This is not the end of your story. This is the moment Saint Anthony enters your situation, and everything begins to change. The storm doesn't scare him. In fact, it's where he does his best work. And just wait. It only gets deeper from here. The prayer that works instantly. There's something incredibly powerful about praying when you're at your lowest. When the bills are stacked, your strength is gone, and even your tears seem to have dried up. That's when prayer becomes more than words. It becomes surrender, and that's exactly when the miraculous prayer to Saint Anthony starts moving, not because of how perfect your words are, but because of how raw and honest your heart is. Saint Anthony responds to urgent cries, not rehearsed speeches. He is called upon in moments of despair, when the night feels endless and the answers seem too far away. And still, people have seen results in hours, even minutes, when praying the unfailing prayer to Saint Anthony. There's no formula, just faith. And sometimes that's all heaven needs. One woman prayed in her kitchen with nothing left to feed her children. That same evening, a neighbor knocked with groceries just because. A coincidence, maybe, but when it happens again and again for people who cry out with faith, it becomes impossible to deny. That's the kind of grace Saint Anthony brings, unexpected, undeniable, and deeply personal. Have you ever felt that feeling? When you finally stop trying to control the outcome and say, God, I need you now. Not tomorrow, not next week, now. That's when the prayer for desperate cases becomes more than just a request. It becomes a bridge between your need and God's mercy. Saint Anthony doesn't delay when your heart is ready. There are prayers for the morning and prayers for peace, but this is the prayer that works instantly. It brings peace while you wait. It clears your vision when confusion clouds your path. It might not always remove the problem immediately, but it always changes something inside of you first. And sometimes that internal shift is what changes everything else. You don't need to earn your miracle. You don't need to prove your worth to God. Saint Anthony reminds us that grace flows freely to the humble, the broken, the tired, the people who come in late at night whispering, "Help me, I can't do this alone." That whisper is holy. That whisper is heard. And the response? Closer than you think. It's in the waiting room of a hospital, in the tears of a mother praying for her son, in the breath of someone falling asleep hoping for peace. That's where this powerful Catholic miracle prayer lands, softly but with impact. Heaven doesn't measure how loud you pray. It measures how real you are when you do it, and that's where Saint Anthony shines. What if tonight, instead of anxiety, you chose alignment? Instead of fear, you chose faith. That simple shift, right here, right now, can open doors you didn't even know were there. Because the impossible prayer that works doesn't wait for perfect timing. It creates it. And Saint Anthony has a divine track record to prove it. He was known for finding lost things. But what if what's been lost is your courage, your sleep, your dreams? He restores those too. With each prayer to Saint Anthony for urgent help, something begins to realign in the heavens, not because you begged, but because you trusted. And trust is the language of miracles. So let go of the need to have it all figured out. Let this be the night where you simply believe again. Believe that God sees you, that Saint Anthony is interceding, that miracles don't belong only in ancient stories. They are alive and they are for you, because you matter. Your pain matters. Your faith, even the size of a mustard seed, moves mountains. And when the miracle comes, and it will, you'll know it didn't happen because you had it all together. It happened because you reached out anyway. That's what this night is about, reaching past your doubts and fears into the arms of divine hope. So don't stop now. The next mystery holds something even deeper. When faith awakens, miracles respond. Faith is not the absence of doubt. It's the decision to believe anyway. And when someone chooses to pray with faith, even a little, heaven pays attention. That's the beauty of Saint Anthony's intercession. He doesn't require perfection, just presence, just a heart open enough to say, Lord, I still believe. And when that prayer rises, something shifts. Saint Anthony understood that kind of faith. He lived it, preached it, and through him, thousands found the courage to hope again. That's why when you say a prayer to Saint Anthony, you're not speaking into empty air. You're connecting with a spiritual force that's moved mountains for centuries and still does. Faith activates it. Sincerity sustains it. One man, buried in debt and despair, knelt beside his bed and prayed, Saint Anthony, help me. That night, someone he hadn't spoken to in years offered him unexpected help. The problem wasn't instantly erased, but the miracle had begun. That's how prayer for financial breakthrough works. It opens doors, sometimes quietly, but always intentionally. Faith doesn't just change situations, it transforms people. It gives strength to the weak, clarity to the confused, and peace to the restless. When you pray the holy prayer for impossible requests, you're not just asking for something. You're stepping into alignment with divine timing. That's where Saint Anthony meets you. Not ahead of you, not behind you, but right where you are. And here's something powerful. When you include Saint Anthony in your prayers, you're not praying alone. You are joining thousands, millions across the globe who have seen his intercession bring healing, justice, provision, and peace. That's not just tradition, it's testimony. The healing prayer to Saint Anthony continues to work because faith never expires. Have you noticed how faith often feels strongest in the middle of pain? That's no accident. Pain strips away distractions. It humbles. And in that sacred emptiness, prayer rises more honestly. So if you're struggling, don't run from it. Bring it to Saint Anthony. Let him carry your burden to the throne of God. It's what he's known for. You might be saying, but my problem is too big. Let me lovingly remind you, nothing is bigger than God's will or Saint Anthony's reach. From finding lost things to restoring lost faith, his reputation in heaven is one of action. That's why the prayer that works instantly often begins with a whispered cry in the night and ends in supernatural results. It's not magic, it's grace, it's trust, it's surrender. That's what allows miracles to manifest, not by force, but by flow. Faith isn't loud, it's deep. And the deeper you go in prayer, the more Saint Anthony can do. Not because you've earned it, but because you've allowed it. You've invited heaven into your chaos. Maybe your faith has been dormant. Maybe you stopped praying because you were disappointed before. I understand. But hear this. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not happening. Don't judge God's silence as absence. Sometimes he's just working behind the curtain, and Saint Anthony is backstage, orchestrating something greater than you expected. And sometimes the real miracle isn't what changes outside, but what awakens inside. A fresh confidence, a new boldness, a restored sense of purpose. This is what the prayer to Saint Anthony for urgent help unlocks. Not just intervention, but identity. It reminds you who you are, beloved, seen, and never alone. You may be praying for a miracle, but maybe heaven is preparing you to become one. Someone else's blessing, someone else's testimony, because once you've been lifted, you can lift others. And that's what Saint Anthony teaches us. Faith isn't just for survival, it's for service. And that calling begins now. So if your heart feels stirred, that's not coincidence, it's confirmation. You're being drawn deeper, higher, wiser. This isn't just another night prayer, it's a divine encounter waiting to unfold. Stay with it. Something powerful is rising, and in the next mystery, it only grows stronger. Total surrender. Where miracles begin, there comes a point in every journey of faith where trying is no longer enough. You've tried to fix it. You've tried to hold it together. You've tried to be strong. But what if the true miracle begins not in effort, but in surrender? This is where Saint Anthony leads us, into the holy mystery of letting go, not as a sign of weakness, but as an act of trust. To surrender spiritually is to say, God, I choose your way, even when I don't understand it. It's what gives the prayer to Saint Anthony for urgent help its power. Because when you stop wrestling with outcomes and start resting in divine hands, peace finds its way in, and that peace becomes the fertile ground where miracles take root. Saint Anthony teaches us that surrender isn't passive, it's deeply active. It means placing your burdens at the foot of the cross and saying, I trust you to carry what I can't. Whether it's your finances, your marriage, your children, or your health, there is no category of pain too messy for God's mercy. And Saint Anthony knows how to bring that mercy straight to your door. Have you ever watched a child sleep peacefully in their parents' arms? That's what spiritual surrender looks like. You don't have to know how things will unfold. You just need to rest in the one who does. That's the essence of the miracle prayer today. It's not about control. It's about confidence in God's goodness, in Saint Anthony's intercession, and in divine timing. Maybe you've been carrying something for years, a wound, a guilt, a fear you've never fully released. Tonight could be the night you finally say, "I give it to you, Lord." And when you do, don't be surprised if something shifts. Because when your hands are empty, your heart is finally ready to receive. This is the grace of surrender. You don't have to understand everything to obey. You don't have to feel strong to be faithful. That's the beauty of the powerful Catholic miracle prayer. It meets you in your weakness and lifts you up. Saint Anthony doesn't come to those who have it all together. He comes to those who are falling apart and whispering, "Help me." And help always comes. Maybe not in the way you expect, maybe not on the timeline you hoped for, but it comes. Sometimes as peace, sometimes as provision, sometimes as perspective. Surrender opens the door to all of it. And Saint Anthony is standing on the other side, ready to walk you through. Think of a time when you let go of something, and something better took its place. That wasn't luck. It was alignment. Heaven can't fill hands that are already full of worry, control, or pride. But the moment you release, grace begins to pour in. This is the promise woven through every miraculous prayer to Saint Anthony. One woman prayed not for her situation to change, but for her heart to be strong enough to endure it. And in that surrender, she found a strength she never knew she had. Her marriage didn't heal overnight. Her finances didn't multiply instantly, but her spirit, unshakable. That's the miracle no one can steal. Saint Anthony isn't just the saint of lost things. He's the saint of restored souls. When you let go, he steps in. And what he brings isn't just a solution, it's a transformation. So let this be your prayer tonight. Saint Anthony, I let go. I release my need to control. I open myself to whatever heaven has for me. And then breathe. It's in the quiet after surrender that the answers begin to whisper. A new idea, a gentle peace, a random message from someone that feels perfectly timed. These are signs, not always loud, but always divine. That's how the emergency prayer for financial help or healing often arrives, not like thunder, but like a breeze through an open window. And once you've surrendered, you begin to see things differently. Your stress no longer controls you. Your past no longer defines you. You realize what you gave up was never yours to carry alone. And what you receive is far greater than what you lost. That's the exchange Saint Anthony helps you make. So tonight, ask yourself, what am I still gripping? Then, open your hand, open your heart, and let Saint Anthony be the one who lifts what you've been afraid to let go of. Because beyond that release lies a peace that passes understanding, and a miracle that's already in motion. But the story doesn't end here, because what happens after surrender might just surprise you. Trusting the miracle before it arrives. There's a sacred kind of confidence that comes when you've truly let go. You stop pacing the floor. You stop begging for signs. You simply rest. Not because the answer has come yet, but because deep down, you know it will. That's the kind of trust Saint Anthony leads us into. A trust that says, even if I don't see it yet, the miracle is already on its way. This trust doesn't grow overnight. It's built through surrender, through prayer, through moments when God was the only one who showed up. And Saint Anthony, he's a constant reminder that heaven is not far. He brings the assurance that your prayer for desperate cases has not been overlooked, that your name is known, that your situation matters. Maybe you've prayed the same thing for weeks, months, even years, and still nothing. Let me tell you something powerful. Silence is not absence. Delays are not denials. God's timing isn't slow, it's strategic. And Saint Anthony's intercession operates in that divine rhythm. When you trust that, everything changes, even before your miracle comes. Have you ever seen someone smile through a storm? Not because they're ignoring the pain, but because they know who holds their future. That's the fruit of deep trust. It allows you to sleep in peace, even when the bank account is low. It helps you forgive, even when the wound is fresh. That's the power of a miracle prayer today. It anchors you before it lifts you. And that's what Saint Anthony does. He anchors you in truth, in peace, in promise. He reminds you that your role is not to figure it all out, but to believe, to keep showing up in prayer, to keep choosing hope over fear. Because when faith becomes a habit, miracles become a lifestyle, and it starts now. One man prayed for years to escape addiction. No one believed in him, except one night, after a simple prayer to Saint Anthony, he felt something shift. The cravings didn't disappear instantly, but his desire to live did, and that new desire led to help, healing, and wholeness. That's what trust can do. It invites the process that leads to the promise. So don't be discouraged if things aren't happening fast enough. Sometimes the miracle is already on the way. You're just not supposed to see it yet. Like a seed planted underground, trust grows in the hidden places. And when it breaks through, it's stronger than you imagined. That's the gift of the unfailing prayer to Saint Anthony. It plants supernatural hope. There's nothing naive about faith. It's not wishful thinking. It's rooted in history, testimony, and truth. Saint Anthony's legacy is filled with moments that defied logic. He helped people find not just their keys or wallets, but their faith, their families, their futures. And what he did for them, he still does for us. When you say, "I believe," even with trembling lips, the heavens respond. That belief draws grace to you like a magnet. It's not about the strength of your voice, but the depth of your surrender. That's why the prayer to Saint Anthony for financial breakthrough can be so effective. It's not just words, it's trust in action. There's beauty in trusting God when everything looks uncertain, because that's when trust is most powerful. Anyone can believe after the miracle, but believing before it arrives, that's faith, that's favor. That's where Saint Anthony walks closest with us, right at the edge of what we can't control. Take a moment now and breathe. Really breathe. And say silently, I trust you, Lord. I trust Saint Anthony is interceding for me. Let those words sink in. Let them become your rhythm, your anchor, your peace. Because even before the problem is fixed, you can be free inside. That's a miracle too. And here's something beautiful. When you begin trusting like this, others notice. They ask why you're calm, why you haven't given up. And you'll be able to say, because I know who's praying for me. I've placed it in hands greater than mine. That testimony is powerful, and it begins with trust. If you're still waiting, that's okay. Keep waiting, but wait with hope. Wait like someone who knows the blessing is closer than it appears, because it is. And your continued prayer, your nightly surrender, your faithful whisper, it's building a future filled with grace, the kind that only heaven can write. So say it again, I believe, even now, even here. Let that be your declaration. Because you are not forgotten, you are not abandoned. You are standing on the edge of breakthrough, and Saint Anthony is already lifting your name in prayer. Trust that, rest in that, walk forward in that, because in the next breath, in the next moment, in the next prayer, the miracle could be closer than you think. Final blessing. May the peace of God wrap around your heart like a warm blanket tonight. Let every fear dissolve in His presence, and every unanswered prayer be met with trust. As you lay your head down, may Saint Anthony stand watch over your spirit. You are not alone in your waiting. Divine grace is already in motion. May your home be filled with protection, your dreams with clarity, and your heart with the certainty that you are seen. The storm outside may rage, but inside, peace reigns. Saint Anthony is praying over every detail of your life, even the ones you forgot to mention, especially those. Let every tear you've cried be gathered as a sacred offering. For in your weakness, God's power is perfected. May Saint Anthony carry those tears into heaven's courts, and may answers flow in ways you never expected. Tonight, rest knowing you are being remembered in holy places. May the powerful Catholic miracle prayer spoken in faith become the bridge between where you are and where God is leading you. May delays turn into testimonies. May silence give birth to trust. And may your faith, small as it may feel, be enough to move what seems immovable. May the God of abundance meet your financial needs in ways beyond calculation. Through Saint Anthony's intercession, may doors open that no man can shut. May debts be lifted, jobs be offered, and new ideas flourish. This is more than a wish. It's a blessing released over your life right now. May healing flow to every part of you, body, mind, and soul. Saint Anthony, known for restoring what was broken, stands with you in prayer. May his healing touch reach your pain, calm your nervous heart, and awaken new strength in you. Not tomorrow, but tonight. May you experience reconciliation where separation once lived. In your marriage, your family, your friendships, may peace be planted. May the prayer to Saint Anthony for family restoration come alive in your household. What was once broken can still be made whole. May your faith be renewed, not in theory, but in experience. May you see signs, wonders, and whispers of God's love around you. May Saint Anthony guide your thoughts into calm and your steps into purpose. This is your sacred reset. Embrace it fully. May angels guard your rest, and may your sleep be sweet. No torment, no fear, just the serenity that comes when you've surrendered all. Let Saint Anthony stand at the doorway of your soul tonight. No darkness can enter where light dwells. May you wake up tomorrow with a new spirit, bold, focused, and expectant. Today's burdens will not follow you into tomorrow's blessing. You are crossing into something new. Let Saint Anthony walk with you into the morning, with favor, with miracles, with joy. May your life never again settle for just surviving. May the miraculous prayer to Saint Anthony unlock a season of abundance, healing, and supernatural alignment. You are not the same person who began this prayer. You are becoming who God intended you to be. And may you never forget this. You are deeply loved, endlessly pursued, and divinely equipped. Saint Anthony believes in your miracle, and so do we. Rest now, knowing heaven is at work. Do you feel the shift? Did something move inside your spirit as you prayed? What would happen if you lived tomorrow as someone who already received the miracle? Would you dare to believe that your life is forever changed by this one night of surrender? Because the truth is, you'll never be the same after this. Your heart has spoken. Your soul has aligned. Saint Anthony heard you, and God never turns away a sincere prayer. So ask yourself, what part of your life will you now hand over completely? If this prayer touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Click like to let us know you're walking in faith. Leave a comment with your prayer request, or simply write Amen as your declaration of belief. There's power in sharing your voice. Share this prayer with someone you love, someone who needs hope tonight. Let them know they are not alone. Forward it in a message, post it in a group, or send it with a blessing. You could be the reason someone receives the miracle they've been praying for. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel. This is more than content. It's a community of faith. Every video is crafted to speak life, spark hope and strengthen your spirit. Join us and let your faith grow with each prayer. Lastly, write Amen in the comments now. And if this prayer blessed you, share it boldly. Let Saint Anthony's intercession reach homes, hearts, and lives. You are now part of something sacred. Help it grow.